Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider, Bill Ryder. Bill, sad news to start the podcast today as by the way, I'm in Stamford, Connecticut, which you know and love very well. But sad news, Hall of Famer Jerry West passed away today at 86, 14-time All-Star, 2-time Executive of the Year, the logo, 9 championships as a player and exec. He'll be missed, man. What a run.
Well, we shouldn't need people to pass away to fully appreciate them and their greatness, but maybe that's human nature, because I already knew everything that you mentioned that we know about Jerry West. But to think about it this morning, and I was doing radio too, and just think about it out loud, it's just, you take just chunks of his collegiate career or his playing career in the NBA, you take one of several of his executive stops, and for many people, that would be a remarkable lifetime, a remarkable level.
One of those things.
One. Let me ask you a tough question to start, because I'll give you an answer. I think it's hard. And he was amazing at all these things. Better player or better executive?
Wow, that is a tough question.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the logo, so that's really hard to beat. Like your image, your silhouette is synonymous with the NBA. So I think that's difficult to beat. But yeah, as an executive, he was incredible, right? And also, I just love him telling the Lakers, "I'll see you around," and going across the street. You know, like that's just like such a Jerry West thing. Did you watch Winning Time at all?
I watched. It's weird. I was into it. I know Perlman, obviously Jeff Perlman, and I watched it for 5 or 6 episodes, and then was just over it. So I didn't finish it.
I didn't finish it either. But the Jason Clarke portrayal of Jerry West, where he's just like this super aggro guy who's like, "I know what I'm doing, fall in line," or whatever, and he's like barking. That portrayal of him, like that's what I think about when I think about him telling the Lakers, "I'll see you around," and going to the Clippers.
The thing, it's funny you say that, but part of the reason I stopped, and I didn't know Jerry that well, but I knew people that knew him well, obviously.
Yeah.
And there were scenes in there, right?
He hated
it, and not accurate. Some of the throwing and people close. So I was sort of out on it. I'm going to answer my own question. I'm going to go better executive, even though he's a Hall of Famer in both. Because
so tough.
And so you add Magic and all those other guys to Kareem. So you're the guy that was that. And then you identify Kobe Bryant properly and trade for him and sort of facilitate that he's not going to go. He's going to be a Laker in the same, I think, couple of weeks where he got Shaq.
Yep.
Then I think maybe underrated and went to Memphis fine. He is, I would argue, the most important person in the Warriors run in terms of front office. And some people would push back on this. Bob Myers would, but people that I trust who have told me way back in the day, not today, right, that he was the voice in the room saying, if you trade what became the pieces in Steph, Clay, and Draymond for Chris Paul or for Kevin Love, some of these
Kevin Love,
ether, it was both. It turns out, supposedly, as I understand it, was Jerry West. And to your point, very classic bleep you. Jerry West said, "If you do it, I'm gone." He was just an advisor, but he had clout. So I think, I'll say this: I think he's the best person in the history of the sport if you take player who was also coach or front office person.
Yeah.
And come up.
Right at the
I'm
top.
not sure anybody better than Larry Bird, better than, Joe Dumars was great, right? But like not even just different level.
I'm only saying this to anger our producer, Aaron. Where do you have Steve Kerr?
Bill Russell. Good one. Yeah.
What about Steve Kerr?
I would go. So here's the thing. Russell was amazing. I discount that era relative to now because there were fewer teams. So if you kind of had an advantage, you could pile on. Phil Jackson's a good one, but Phil Jackson wasn't nearly Bill Russell, better player than Jerry West. Few people in the history of the sport are. Phil Jackson not in the same league, I think. And again, I think you credit West with those Lakers teams that he played on. You credit him for the Showtime Lakers. You credit him for the three-peat with Shaq and Kobe. He gets credit for Kobe and a bunch of other guys because and I think he gets credit for the Warriors 4 rings. So yeah, I think it's Jerry. Pretty amazing
Run. No Steve Kerr for you. You don't have him in a player coach capacity. He was also in the deck for a second, and then covered. He was good on TV. I think he's multi-talented.
No, Kerr's. I'm not including TV, but yeah, Kerr's a good one. I think he hit a big 3 for the Bulls. He hit a lot of big shots for a lot of teams. Yeah. But I don't think that level, and I think the fact that West is it's not top 10 anymore. What's the sort of threshold now? Top 15? Because there's obviously we're adding guys every generation. he's a top 15 all-time player. So and he's probably the best executive I've ever seen. I think I don't know. I think he's in a class to himself.
Yeah, really, truly amazing. Aaron wants to cut my mic because I keep bringing up Steve Kerr. So we'll probably move on here, but we want to say rest in peace.
Oh, he hates Kerr. I forgot.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
That's hilarious.
To Jerry West, really amazing.
Welcome to the Bill Ryder Show. John's gone.
Welcome to the Bill Ryder Show.
Cut off.
Speaking of welcome to later in the Bill Ryder Show, Joe Mazzulla's wild recall. We're going to talk about his latest quirkiness, and then Adam Silver's expansion comments when he was on NBC Sports Boston, and then predictions for Game 3 tonight in Dallas. But first, about Game 3 tonight in Dallas, injuries. Kristaps Porzingis evidently has a left leg injury that he suffered late in the third quarter of Game 2. Now, this is unrelated to his previous right calf strain. Now, the team tweeted out the explanation. Bill, I'm going to effort to say what this is, but I've listened to...
Are you really?
I'm going to try. So I listened to a bunch of NBA podcasts. I watched different NBA shows. I've seen a bunch of people like you and me who are not like medical professionals in any sense, just basketball people, try to say this. Everybody has butchered it. I will also butcher it, but I'm going to try. Torn medial retinaculum. You
gotta say it with confidence. You have to be like Michael Keaton in the paper where he just walks into this police station.
All right, I'll do the second part with confidence. Allowing a dislocation of the posterior tibialis tendon. Thank you so much. I am sure that is not what it is. All we know is that Mazzulla said that this is a serious injury. Now, Kristaps was seen wearing a sleeve on his left ankle. He's evidently day-to-day. At the time of this recording, we still don't know what his status is for tonight, but here are his comments from Media Avail on Tuesday in Dallas.
It's kind of a random situation, yeah, and I felt something, and now I have to deal with it. So, as we said, yeah, it's going to be day-to-day, and see how I am tomorrow, and obviously I'm going to do everything I can to be out there tomorrow, and we'll see.
Are you optimistic?
I am, of course. I have to be. I'm optimistic, and as I said, I will do everything I can to be out there tomorrow, and yeah, we'll see.
Can I just real quick say, I love that he's sitting down and he's as tall or taller than the people interviewing him who are standing up.
Yeah, well, media professionals cover basketball and don't play basketball for a reason. Are you buying that he is optimistic about his what was termed a serious injury?
I will sell that, but I'll give him a little benefit of the doubt. I do think he plans to play if he had a say, which obviously he will not have the final say, and that's something they made clear that they want to protect him from himself if they decide, the medical staff and the coaching staff, he can't play. So I think optimism is a euphemism for him for I'm fine. I'm going to play. I want to play. But no, I don't think optimism is probably the right word.
I just was trying to figure it all out because like you have Mazzulla going, this isn't good. And then he's saying he's optimistic. And then the team's saying he's day-to-day. And I'm like, so nobody really has either they're not telling us what's actually happening or Mazzulla did, and then they're just trying to cover it up. Or maybe Mazzulla went too far the other way. Nobody has any idea what's happening here.
Can I give you a theory?
Please.
Here's the other thing, right? So our medical expert on CBS Sports HQ, who's amazing, and I'm not amazing because I can't remember his name, but he was sort of talking about this injury last night when I was watching, and he said that it's not serious long-term because he said surgery makes it just fine. Obviously, if you have to play tonight, Friday, maybe Monday, maybe Thursday, and then another Monday, another Sunday, over the next week and a half, it is serious, but there's a lot of pain sort of management, and it's so rare that trying to navigate just how to manage the pain and what you're going to do to the rest of your body is tricky. So maybe part of the confusion is if it were Game 6, you just risk it. I would imagine there's maybe some difference of opinion within everybody that is in the decision tree, in the circle of decision making. We're up 2-0. We've won 2 series without the guy before this.
Yep.
Maybe some voices are saying, let's just not even think about playing him Game 3 because we may not need him. And then you maybe have Kristaps and other people saying, no, like I can do it. So maybe that's some of the differing perspectives.
That makes sense. I would err on the side of let's sit him because yes, he came back. He looked awesome in limited minutes. He's playing 22 minutes per game, but 16 points per game in those minutes, and then 2.5 blocks per game. His rim protection has been awesome. I mean, like he really affected the game at the rim. But the reason why I would sit him is, as you mentioned, they already won 3 series without him, and then they're 30-5 this season without him, and they've only lost 2 games in the postseason. So it's like, do we really need to push this? That doesn't. Now, if I'm the Mavs, I'd be super excited about them, Boston, taking that approach, because then you go, all right, you're already hunting Al Horford. That's an advantage, Mavs. And then especially the non-Horford minutes is an advantage, Mavs, because the rim protection with Porzingis, the Mavs love to throw lobs. They're one of the best lob throwing teams in the NBA. They haven't been in this series, so that would be a boon for them, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, Porzingis has been an amazing. It's amazing how on a team that is really deep and versatile. On the radio show today, Howard Beck used the word they're an ensemble, which I thought was so smart because it's just you have all these different guys to do all these different things. Porzingis does, he is. Porzingis does everything well. He creates offense. He obviously has rim protection. You've talked about this. He can pull the bigs out for the Mavs, who when you put them together have been. If you put together Gafford and Lively before the series, right? And they play 43 to 46 minutes between them. They're one of the best big men in the postseason. I know it's two different guys, but like. Their big men before the series were incredible. Porzingis' rim protection, coupled with just his ability to pull them away from the rim, right, and just take away their ability to rim protect a little bit. It's everything he does. Porzingis has been a 10% or a 20% increase to a Celtics team that may already be good enough to beat them. So I'm with you. If you're the Mavericks, you're looking for every silver lining you can get, and him not playing is potentially significant.
Potentially significant. Also potentially significant, Doncic, according to ESPN, received pain-killing injection prior to Game 2 to numb the area of his thoracic contusion. We've become a medical podcast here. That turns out to be a chest bruise. Fancy way to say that. Thank you very much. I've said it with confidence per your instructions. Expected to get another prior to Game 3. He was asked about it, and he said, I feel good. I don't want to give any more details, but I feel good. Basically being like, I'm not going to tell you I'm going to get another shot, but I'm going to get another shot. He's been awesome in this series, 31 points per game on 51% shooting, 10.5 rebounds, and then 6 assists per game as well. He did blame himself for missing those free throws. He had 8 turnovers. He wasn't great defensively in the first 2 games. But without him, they'd be even more cooked than they already were in the first 2 games. So, shoot him up with whatever you need to.
I'm not mad at him for any of those things, by the way. He has multiple turnovers because he's carrying the load himself. He's not playing the same level of defense because they're able to double him and be physical. I mean, he is carrying the entire load. And you miss the free throws, you miss the free throws. I'm going to be a little ungenerous not ungenerous to Porzingis, but ungenerous maybe, or to Luka. Maybe a little ungenerous to people who are taking this to this is a problem. Everybody's hurt. I mean, like, he's obviously hurt at a different level. But everybody's hurt. I remember 2 years ago when the Celtics flamed out of the playoffs and didn't play particularly well against the Warriors, or Tatum didn't. Remember after that? It was after, but Tatum let it be known that I was injured during the finals. I rolled my eyes. I mean, all right, but if you're on the floor, you're on the floor. So it's a significant thing to talk about, but I don't think this is the issue for the Mavs. I think the issue is all the things we've talked about, that everyone other than the guy who's the most banged up have played like garbage. I think that's probably the issue.
They really have. And I know you and Ash talked about this a little bit yesterday while I was traveling to beautiful Stamford, Connecticut. But what kind of adjustments do we think the Mavs are going to make here? Because they kind of tried it in Game 2. Like what I had suggested was, hey, let's slow it down a little bit if you're the Mavs. And they did that, and they held Boston to 105, and they still lost. And they tried to run the Celtics off the three-point line, and the Celtics only shot 23% from 3, and they still won the game. So I'm looking at this. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. Are you going to dust off like Tim Hardaway Jr.?
No, I mean, do you really think that adjustments are significant here? Because I don't. I think when Kyrie Irving shoots 12% from the field and scores -5 points a game, and when Gafford and Lively, who again were such a dynamic duo, and not just like the scoring and the physicality and all the things they did, it was just an injection of excitement and energy for that team, right? They would just have these moments where they'd fire up that basketball team. And PJ Washington's fade back to reality began before this series, but still, I don't know that adjustments are the thing so much as in my opinion, Kyrie's got to figure it the heck out, play at a better level. That way, the rest of those guys can loosen up a little bit. Because every time a Mav has taken some wide open 3 that they get, it just feels like they're carrying the weight of not just the finals, but the fact Kyrie's not playing well either. So there's just added pressure of every shot, and the Celtics contribute to this, their defense. But every shot the Mavs take feels like it's the most significant shot in the world because they're always under duress. And if Kyrie can just take off some of that pressure, momentum is a really interesting, powerful thing, and so is confidence. So I don't think it's an adjustment thing. I think it's really simple as Kyrie has to play better, and you hope that leads to the Mavs role players being they don't have to be amazing, but getting nearer to the level they were in the series before this.
So the Kyrie thing is it's like significant.
Stop.
It's obvious and it's significant, and like everybody knows it. Everybody, you, me, the Mavs, the Celtics, everybody who's watched this as a fan. I was thinking about how he's been over his last 12 against the Celtics, and he's averaging under 20 points per game in that, and he's shooting 41% from the field during that, and 26% from deep, and he hasn't hit a three in this series. And so what I'm saying is he's due. At some point, I don't know. He's Kyrie Irving. But the Celtics are unbelievable defensively, and we've said it so many times. Like this is a match. Look, the Mavs blew through 2 top 5 defenses. Now they're facing a third. Not all top 5 defenses are made the same. The Celtics are unique in the different looks that they can throw at you and the different types of people that they can throw at you. But I would guess like one. You're telling me he can't have one good game out of 13?
So I do believe in regression to the mean if what is happening is just the normal course of things, right? That it happens. So I'm much more inclined to believe that Jason Tatum is going to have a regression to the mean, at least in the first 3 quarters of a game. I think Tatum scoring 40 points tonight is not outrageously possible. I think what's going on with Kyrie isn't about statistical variance. I think he plays badly against Boston because he is a head case against Boston because he created something he can't handle. And so I think it's a bigger question mark for me, John. The game's obviously it's in Dallas. So here's the thing. Maybe at home, like maybe whatever the thing is with him in Boston, maybe it feels totally different in Dallas. I mean, I've known plenty of fake tough guys, right? Who are real or whatever, real comfortable with their social crew, but not when they're sort of out on their own, right? I mean, we've all known people like this who are one group when they're comfortable with their guys and another group when they're kind of, you catch them and they're by themselves and they don't know anybody. Maybe Kyrie will be amazing in Dallas, but I think his lack of poor play I don't think it's variance. I think it's what he created against Boston, the weight of it, he can't handle, at least back in Boston.
Yeah, it doesn't help with the matchups either. It's been brutal.
No,
if they can't get anything out of him, then this thing is definitely over. And then they're going to lose tonight. Yeah. They're going to lose the series. They need a massive game from him. And even if they get it, they might not win the game. But we'll find out. All right, let's take a quick break. And then on the other side, we have done all kinds of Joe Mazzulla talk. And this latest one was fascinating to me. And I watched it multiple times because I couldn't believe it. We're going to play that for you on the other side. This is Beyond the Arc.
Ladies, be shaking.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. John and Bill here on a Wednesday before Game 3 tonight in Dallas. Find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please download, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps people find us. We'd like people to find us for this Joe Mazzulla conversation because we've talked about how quirky he is. He is one of a kind. He watches the town, or did previously.
He's grown on me, by the way.
Well, I was going to mention this too, because at first I was like, this dude is a weird dude. He's watching the town like 3 to 4 times a week previously. He sits with his back to the wall so he can watch the door at a restaurant. And he doesn't go through revolving doors because it could be
just his press conferences. He's a weirdo. Just his conversation.
Super, super weird. Actually, last night, by the way, when I went out to dinner in New York, I met my friends at their hotel, and they had the world's slowest revolving door. And it made me think of Mazzulla. And I was like, maybe he's onto something here because this thing's taking forever. And if somebody wanted to get me, this would be a good time to do it. All right. So the other day, he was asked about Drew Holiday. Okay. That was the question. The question was about Drew Holiday after Game 2. And this is how he responded.
Listen, you got to take a look at, we gave up a 26-point first quarter and then 3 25-point quarters. In the 26-point first quarter, we fouled a 3-point, we messed up the 2 for 1 and fouled a 3-point shooter. For 3 free throws, Luka gets 2 shooting free throws. We give up a transition basket to PJ Washington. PJ Washington hits an above the break 3. That's almost 70% of the points there. So that the game was going the way we wanted it to go, outside of the things that we can control.
That was some Russell Crowe beautiful mind stuff. What?
You know what it reminds me of? Tiger Woods, back in his heyday, would sometimes at press conferences be a little surly, but if you ask him a golf question, he would recount yardage and what club he had and what he was to the. Or do you play poker, John? Like I play a lot of poker, right? Yeah. So my brother's an extraordinary poker player who's won hundreds of thousands of dollars each of the last few years, has won a TV. I mean, he's good. I'm not, right? I'm at the $300 game, like sweating it out. He's playing $20,000 buy-in, and he can recall hands he played 5 years ago to the T. I think Mazzulla's got this sort of like obsessive greatness thing, and whether it works or not, I'm with you. That insight into his basketball mind, that is someone who is both remarkably talented and so obsessively into winning and thinking about it over and over that it's a part of his entire makeup now.
We have spent a good amount of time sort of laughing at his expense about his weirdness and wondering aloud whether or not he's any good. If he wins this thing, and like you talked to him a bunch when you were at the finals, played that clip where you're like, there is a mind at work there, and there's a method to his madness to an extent. If he wins one, does the narrative just completely shift on Joe Mazzulla? Are we all of a sudden talking to him about, like, he's 35 years old, man, like, and he could have a title?
Well, we the media always in my opinion, the NBA media overreact. We underreact forever, and then we overreact to try to compensate for we're all making sure everybody else thinks the exact same thing. It annoys the absolute hell out of me. But yes, and I think rightfully so, for me, let's say the Celtics collapse and lose this series. I don't think it's going to happen, but no one ever thinks a team that's up 2-0 is going to lose. Let's just say Dallas wins tonight, and then they somehow win game 4, and then, whatever, it happens. I'm not firing Joe Mazzulla. I'm not making any changes to this. I'm not overreacting like I think he has established that he is outstanding at what he does, that he knows how to connect. These guys like him too, by the way. You can just tell talking to them. And I mean, man, I think he's either the next big thing we talk about, or he is pilloried unfairly, and he's still going to be just fine. He will win an NBA championship in the next 4 years with the Celtics, even if it's not this one.
This team is set up to do that, right? I mean,
yes.
To win at least one, if not multiple. They have been set up previously. They're even better set up this season after they added Drew and Kristaps. And I think, like, those question marks about, what kind of coach is Joe Mazzulla? Is he too green to get the job after Ime left? And what you were saying about, like, his players speak glowingly of him. And, you ask him a basketball question, and he, like, all of a sudden he goes to the chalkboard, and it's just like the red string and the the push pins. And I'm like, what's happening right now? But yeah, I mean, I don't even, I'm with you. I think that we do tend to, like, the sea change can be overcorrected sometimes, but maybe in this instance we just got it slightly wrong before, because he is so quirky.
I agree.
And his idiosyncrasies make him, like, hard. Like, it's hard. It's not accessible for the average person, or at least for me, it was hard to parse. But
and they underwhelmed last year, right? And he had a learning curve, and that's a real thing. And you were allowed to sort of not know if a guy can make a leap. The other thing about Mazzulla that's won me over, and I don't know how you view sort of draft coverage, but I think sometimes NFL coverage, NBA draft, I think we overdo draft coverage because it does so well, and we have all of our experts talking nonstop, and every expert thinks every kid is going to be amazing. Like, I dare you to have on this show, another show, draft experts on and try to name 5 busts in a top 10 pick. They won't do it. But that's the math. I think sometimes the easier way to evaluate is who's making the decision. Like, for me, sometimes we have the tail wagging the dog, and in that context, Brad Stevens has shown how remarkable he is as a front office person. And that's become clear with the Porzingis move. If you go back and just look at, I'm sure you have it's been everywhere the last few days, what he gave away to bring in Porzingis and Holiday. And I trust that guy to hire Mazzulla. So he has absolutely saw what we're seeing now. And the other thing is, I'm going to soccer on you because Pep and I had this moment. So now we're, like, really emotionally connected to each other. Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, I know you guys bumped into each other. Literally.
It's a real thing. Pep's not throwing around his time or, like, let's have an exchange of sports ideas for some weird schlep. He's not. Like, Pep and Mazzulla's friendship is obviously based on what Spoelstra would do with Chip Kelly back in the day. And so, yeah, I think you and I and the rest of us are catching up to what Brad Stevens knew and what Pep must have known, that this guy is a pretty bright basketball mind.
Who we're going to go to break here, but I just wanted to throw this out there for Aaron as well. Who else Pep was high on and is high on?
Who?
Steve Kerr. So, throwing that out there.
The Hall of Famer.
Real recognize real. They identify with each other. Quick break. And then Adam Silver had more comments on expansion, potential cities. And we're going to discuss the cities that we want to see the NBA expand to. That's coming up on Beyond the Arc.
It's a Sunday in Seattle with another round of the Cascadia rivalry on CBS and streaming live on Paramount+.
Keep your eyes on me.
Welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Check out our YouTube page at Beyond the Arc CBS. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. I'm sure that we're going to clip off this Adam Silver expansion discussion, so people can check that out as well. But so Adam Silver, I believe it was NBC Sports Boston. Apologies if it wasn't. But Adam Silver was on their program to talk about expansion. He talked about it in his annual press conference prior to the finals, and he expanded on it a little bit on their program.
Well, there's been some discussion about going back to Seattle potentially. Las Vegas, no doubt, is very interested in the team. Mexico City one day. But there's lots of other U.S. cities and Canadian cities, frankly, that have reached out to us to tell us they'd be interested.
I wish the host had spent a little more time interrupting Adam. That was I wish we could have got a little more of that.
It was a boisterous atmosphere. They're clearly in the concourse of the Garden before or after a game. I don't know. There was a bunch of fans around. Yeah, and there was a host who was overzealous, perhaps.
Excited.
But, how do we feel about Vegas, Seattle, and Mexico City? Mexico City is an incredible city.
So it's funny you say that. The top 50 restaurants in the world just came out, and I went to look at places I'll never be able to afford or eat at. And the most Mexico City has by far the most spots on that list.
The food there is unbelievable.
It must be. Yeah.
One of my friends was there, and we
really
took us around, and we went to we ate everything that was amazing. But also, you can just find a taco vendor on the street that'll blow your mind. So it's unbelievable. But yes, you should go. The food is really incredible.
It's really interesting because, look, Vegas is going to get a team. The LeBron James. Yes. The Sacramento Kings will have to give up the Kings moniker because King James will want or whatever. LeBron will have a team in Vegas. Seattle's got one coming, you would think. Yeah. The other thing that Silver talked about at his press conference, and I don't know how this fits in with Mexico, but I thought it was really candid. It was so candid, and I've been to a lot of these things, that I think expansion is very real because Silver doesn't usually talk about it this sort of this much. Expansively was the word I was struggling to get and couldn't get there. He talked about how, we want to expand, but we also have this real vision for Europe and abroad, and we have to make sure that we don't expand. The timing doesn't conflict with that if that's closer than further away. And so I also think there's a world where the conversation, instead of expansion in 2 years, say, right, the machination's really moving for here, it sounds like could maybe become in 5 or 7 years. Let's actually do, I'm making this up, but London, Paris, Barcelona, Berlin, which is interesting. Which do they do? And how does Mexico City fall into that? I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, because Aaron points out that they did put a G League team in Mexico City as a trial balloon, so not a surprise that they're thinking about Mexico City. That would be a great market. But yeah, I mean, of course they'd love to expand into Europe too. But we talked about it on the Monday show. How do you do it logistically?
Right, it's hard.
Yeah, but who knows? I mean, he is an out of the box and. He's an out of the box thinker, and he encourages it. I mean, the in-season tournament idea that he was pushing for, that everybody else was like, no thanks. Or when they were messing around with the Elam ending for the All-Star game or whatever.
What I liked.
Yeah, I mean, these things, the traditionalists would be like, "What are you doing? You're messing up my game." He's at least willing to try. So if anybody can get it done, it'd be him. What do we think?
Can I give a surprise destination? Can I give a surprise location? And this is self-serving. It's emotional for me, but I'm going to defend it before I give it to you with, I do not think that you any longer have to say, what is the largest city? What is the biggest media market? I don't think there's a risk anymore that if you go into a medium-sized city, that organization is going to fail because you can't attract players. No one wants to play there. I think the way that the CBA operates, and we talk a lot about this, and the second apron being a thing, and that it's not just money you spend, you give up flexibility in building a winner, and how that's probably going to curtail bad behavior in terms of big markets outspending small markets, I think means a place like, ready, Kansas City, Missouri could do it. All right, I'm going to say this. I lived there forever, and I was forced for years at the Kansas City Star to write, can we get an NBA team? I always roll my eyes absolutely not. You can't, but amazing barbecue, right? Middle of the country, so it's easier to get everywhere. Sure. They've got the Sprint Center. Now, we're about 15 years after this dream was sold to the people of Kansas City, and then they just got completely hoodwinked. But KC, I see you. I love you. I got you. They had a team back in the day, and I would love to just put them on the list of considerations. I know they'll be lobbying.
KC would be amazing. I think Nashville would be a good spot. To your point about population, and it not mattering. Like San Diego is the 8th most populous city in America. I have a buddy who lives down there. He writes for a local magazine, and he also is in city government there. And we talk about it all the time. They can't sustain. They can sustain the Padres, and that's it. Like, they're not going to. So San Diego is an awesome city. I love San Diego. Can't be there. Jacksonville, 10th most populous city. Why bother?
What about Austin? Because I know that it's not that
cool.
It's close to San Antonio. It's like, but it has its own thriving, and they have money too, right? So like sponsors, corporate sponsorships, those sorts of things.
A 4th Texas team.
It's a 4th Texas team.
I was saying, like maybe throw a bone to Oakland because they lost everything, but they're not gonna do that.
It's not happening.
If we're just doing it by destination?
Okay.
What are your, say, top 3 to 5?
I'm Adam Silver.
Cities.
If I'm Adam Silver, like what I think the right call is.
Well, I mean,
Kansas City #1. Just kidding, Casey. That's not true. Vegas is #1, right?
Vegas is
in this country.
Same.
It's a lock. They're getting a team.
Yes.
As
well, they should.
They should.
I mean, the pomp and pageantry of that. And the Aces have been awesome there.
Yes. Also, I go to Vegas a lot for fun to play cards, or I used to before I got too busy. I would 100%. I mean, obviously, I like the NBA, but I think people would go watch NBA games, right? Like, if you're there for 3 days and you got to do something to just like dry out a little bit from the booze and the bachelor party, let's go watch whatever team is in town. Like, let's go watch whoever's playing the Las Vegas Spades.
Villains.
The Villains is good.
We talked about the Villains. I'm going to keep pushing that. All right, so we got Vegas at #1.
Seattle. See, that's nostalgia, though. Like, I think
Seattle's a great city, though.
I've never been there, so it's hard for me to speak to it.
Oh, you got to. It's a fantastic city, man. Way underrated. Pacific Northwest is so beautiful. I mean, you've got Mount Rainier there. It's an awesome city.
Yeah, I've heard it's amazing. I covered. I went to every NFL city other than Seattle when I was doing that. I went to every NBA city. But not that one because I just didn't get there. And then obviously like OKC stole them from. So okay, Seattle 2.
Okay,
we feel like agreement there.
Well, 1 and 2 is, I think it's so obvious. Let's not overthink it. And the NBA shouldn't either.
Let's just go Kansas City for 3. Let's just say a beautiful venue.
All right, pitch me on Kansas City. Like, all right, like really give me the hard sell.
All right, you ready? Yeah. So they have shown that they will wildly support any professional sports team and multiple sports teams as long as they're remotely competent. Like if the Royals are going to be 4 games under 500, right? But when the Royals were good a few years ago when Dayton Moore was doing it, they sold out. Yeah. It is a huge sports city. And obviously Arrowhead has sold out, has been like a monster forever. Now they've got Mahomes. I think they could support it. Also, they had a team before. It went away. I once talked to Magic Johnson about this. He almost came out a year earlier, and he would have gone to Kansas City, and he went to KC to talk to the organization and decided he wanted to go to. So they, in some alternate universe, John, they've won like 11 championships in the last 40 years. So let's just correct the universe a little bit. It's all hard. It's all hard for me.
KC is a good one. I would maybe go Nashville, just because Nashville is like Vegas of the South, like minus the gambling. But
I haven't been there to hang out. I've been there to work.
It's just one big giant bachelorette party, and people rock out and have a good time. And it's like, if New Orleans can have a team, Nashville could have a team. But any of those would be good.
Should we throw Nashville over Seattle? You're selling me. Should it?
No, I want Seattle. I mean, Vegas and Seattle are locks. But for that
if you do Vegas, Seattle, who are you moving from the West to the East? I guess you're moving like Minnesota and Memphis to the Eastern Conference,
or New Orleans.
Central. Oh, in New Orleans, Central, or the Spurs, Central time zone.
But look, all right. I know that they're going to take their.
Aaron's yelling at me. You only move one team east.
Yeah, it's probably going to.
Sorry, Aaron.
Say it's the Pelicans.
That's how that works. That's how math works. Aaron, calm down. Calm down. Don't be mad. I'm emotional about Kansas City, Aaron.
He's still heated about the Steve Kerr talk. All right, let's do a Game 3 prediction before we get out of here because the game's coming up fast. Game 3 tonight, Mavs -3. This thing opened the other day, Bill, at -1.5. Yeah. And then has moved to 3. So some money coming in. People feeling confident about the Mavs actually getting one. I had the Celtics in 6. I did not think that the Mavs are going to get swept in this. If they're going to get one, it better be tonight, right?
Yeah. Well, gentlemen sweep. Look, we all know that I had the Celtics in 4. Okay, I had the Mavs in 5. All right, I had the Mavs in 5. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to math, Aaron. Is that still mathematically possible? I will go. All right. So gut instinct. I think Boston. I actually think Boston wins tonight. I think maybe they lose game 4 and then they win. I think it's I don't really know, and it's close. And the fact that it's 3 and it opened at 1.5 is sort of a coin flip when it opened, right? Because with the home court advantage, and the Porzingis thing is really significant.
Yeah.
I just think this is the thing, John. The Celtics have held this Mavs team to fewer than 100 points in both games. And in the first game was fewer than 90, right? It was 88 or 86, whatever it was.
Or something, I think.
89.
Like that, yeah.
They haven't even had Jason Tatum play well. That's going offensively.
Yeah. He hasn't shot well.
Yeah. That's going to change. Could change tonight. They shot like garbage, the Celtics, in game 2, and that is part of their statistical variance. They shoot a ton of threes, and you're going to make some and miss some, but they tend to make more. So that is going to regret. They could easily shoot 44 threes tonight, and even though on the road, they could make 40% of those threes, or 39% of those threes, or 38. And yeah, I think Boston wins, is what I'm saying.
I'm going back to my Kyrie's due argument. I don't feel confident in this at all. This is similar, like at all. This is similar to me wanting, game 7 in the Western Conference Finals that we didn't end up getting. Just like I want more basketball, and I would like the Mavs to snap out of it. Kyrie to snap out of it. He's definitely due. The last 12 have gone terribly. It's lucky number 13 for Kyrie and the Mavs tonight. And we're going to go 2-1, and then we go into game 4, and anything could possibly happen. So I don't believe it. But they asked. The reason why I'm doing this is so I'm on HQ later, obviously, because I'm in Stanford, where our studios are based on the East Coast, one of the 2 studios. And they asked me like who I'm taking tonight, so I had to think this through. Right. And if I was really doing it, I'd say the Celtics. But I want the Mavs to happen. I'm going with my heart.
Is this a 7 o'clock hit? I think I'm on with you.
Yeah, probably 7 o'clock hit. It's one of those. Yeah. I think it's that. Yeah. So there you go. I'll see you. I'll see you at 7 o'clock.
I think I've been there 50 times. Has anybody told you about dinner? Do you know sort of the how this all works? You ready?
You told me there is no dinner.
So you got to make sure that you order food. But if you don't have a corporate credit card, you don't have to tell them the pot. But I don't know if you do or not. They have to order you food, even if they say they're not allowed to. They have to feed you. You won't eat because there's nowhere to eat in Stanford. And it doesn't. You should actually write them as soon as we get done. They have to find you a visitor's pass, or you can't go to the bathroom. You'll get locked out of everywhere. You'll miss hits, but they guard them jealously. And the person who has them leaves at 5. So sometimes 4:30. You have to get a visitor's pass right now. It's important. Personal experience.
Okay. I will. I'm off to get food and a visitor's pass.
That's it.
All right. We're going to be back tomorrow. It's going to be, you're not on tomorrow. It's Chris Walker tomorrow.
So Henry, my son, is graduating from 5th grade.
Yeah, congratulations.
And
Henry.
I don't think I can make it back in time. So I think they're just letting me just do that.
All right. Well, that's a good reason to miss the show. Congratulations to Henry. He did it. He's onward and upward for Henry. That's amazing. It'll be me, Ashley, and Chris Walker tomorrow on CBS Sports Network at 2 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss that. And then it's me, Ashley, and Bill will make his triumphant return on Friday, also on CBS Sports Network. Also at 2 p.m. Eastern. Please come and join us. Check your local listings for our wonderful sports network on television. That's going to do it for us today. Game 3 tonight. We're excited. Bill, I'll see you in a little bit. He's our NBA insider. I am John Gonzalez. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.